What's happening, everybody? This is Colin Andrews, and this is Crushing Crypto, where we show you how we're crushing it in crypto so you can as well. And today we have it's going to be an awesome interview with a gentleman that this guy, when you talk about crypto and blockchain and just the overall industry, he's been in the game for a long time. Speaking blockchain time-wise, right? And what he's been able to do and to be able to release, launch, and now have a top 100 token, he understands and he sees things in a way that very few people have that type of exposure. And so what we wanted to do is really kind of get into his brain, so to say, with his experience and get an idea more of just kind of what's going on in the crypto space, as well as also specifically in his niche, which is gaming. And then also speak about his top 100 token, which is FunFair, and the ticker is FUN. And so we have the man, the myth, the founder and CEO, Mr. Jez San. Mr. San, thanks a lot for for being on this with us.
Hey, Colin. Call me Jez. That's no problem.
All right, Jez. So Jez, first, you've seen this. You've been in crypto for a while now. What I'd like to do is go wide and then, really kind of dig down into FunFair, what it is that you guys are doing, and just, kind of really get an understanding of what's under the hood of FunFair and what's in the future for it. So again, for everyone listening, what you're going to hear is a overall view of crypto, of blockchain, where we're at right now, the gaming industry, which we'll talk about it, but it is exploding, obviously, online. It's been huge for years. And now blockchain is that next type of disruption that I see to really change the gaming industry. And so we're really going to talk more about that. To give you a little bit more background with Jez, and Jez, you're welcome to share anything else. But he's really been an entrepreneur since his teens, developing software, 3D computer graphic cards that he was able to, that the business sold to. It was Harry Potter, Star Fox, some really popular names in the 3D gaming area. Also founded a 3D online poker room, PKR, and is now the founder and CEO of FunFair. So, Jez, again, great to have you on. And if we can, this has been a wild 4 months, and a lot of people who got into crypto, recently, let's say over the last year, they saw some incredible gains in 2017. And then, 2018 comes and we had a rocket ship at the beginning of January. And then certain things, whether it was news and other type of sentiment really changed, and there was a major loss. And so I think there's a lot of confusion right now. There's a lot of FUD, or as we call fear, uncertainty, and doubt right now in the overall market. Altcoins have been absolutely hit. Bitcoin is down, I think, over 70% from its overall highs. And so, just overall on the blockchain crypto side, what are you kind of seeing right now, and what do you kind of see in the next short term future, let's say 3 to 6 months for the overall industry?
So I've been in crypto since 2013, and we've seen a lot of these same movements. We've seen a lot of very sharp rises and sharp falls, and it happens. That's crypto. But overall, the trend is usually good. When I started in 2013, Bitcoin was $50. And now it's nearly $7,000, and it's been nearly $20,000. And, when I started, there weren't any other tokens. It was just Bitcoin. Maybe a few other crypto, but they were very small in comparison.
Got it. And so, for the short-term future, do you see that, the sentiment changing? Do you think it's going to take a little while just because of, the massive drop? What's your overall feeling as far as, this market and where it's going?
I think 2018 is going to be a very interesting year because finally the first applications that use blockchain are actually coming out, so FunFair included. So now we're going to be able to prove what blockchain can do for us, and hopefully we will be able to establish some real successful businesses that use blockchain technology and smart contracts and all the other cool things we've been working on. So it's a very important time for us.
Excellent. And what you were saying, I think, is a really good point with, 2017 saw major raises for ICOs. And you're saying that now is kind of the time where, those successful companies or those successful organizations and with the teams that now they're actually putting in place what was raised and the actual investments, and that area is moved on, and now they're actually deploying the funds and being able to actually develop real use cases for how blockchain can really solve a lot of the issues and make it, especially when it comes to gaming, a more fair, more transparent type of environment.
So for us, it was a perfect storm because the technology that we're using at FunFair didn't exist a few years ago, and we needed Ethereum with smart contracts. We needed to develop generalized state channel technology, which I'll explain later what that is. And we needed to be able to run games partly on the blockchain, partly off the blockchain, and protect players' funds and do all the things that actually are a massive step change from what exists today. And that just wasn't possible even a year ago. So things have really moved on.
Absolutely. And, let's talk about the actual gaming industry for a moment. It's huge online. I mean, the idea that, back in the day, people had to, especially in the States, very few places allowed physical gambling. So, they'd have to go to Vegas or, a couple places in the Northeast or, out West to actually go and go to legitimate on land physical spots to gamble. And so, in these type of environment, it switched from on land physical places to being able to go online, and online gaming just absolutely, over the last 10 years has, been gigantic as far as just overall industry. So I wanted to see if you could kind of share a little bit more about, how big the online gaming industry is in general right now, and how small or how big of a portion that crypto and blockchain type companies within the gaming industry, what kind of percentage do they have? Is it still a fraction, or give us a kind of, the overall landscape for gaming and with it and how it relates to blockchain and gaming?
So I'll try and do that. Some of the data just isn't available.
Okay.
The land-based full gaming market or legal gaming market is more than $300 billion a year. That's just the legal gaming market. There's obviously a massive, unregulated business as well. And of that $300 billion a year, about $45 billion this year is online. And that's still only the legal regulated online gaming business. There's a massive unregulated, potentially illegal business too. Most of the Bitcoin casinos that have sprung up in the last few years are probably unregulated. They're very unlikely to be in those numbers. So they're like extra market. I think most of the data on Bitcoin casinos is that actually gaming is a major part of what people use cryptocurrency for. So it's probably, after trading, it's probably the number one application of crypto. And in my view, it's actually been a backward step, because when people play online casino games, they usually use their credit card to deposit, and they have to leave their money in the custody of the casino, and then they can play their games. But the deposit takes time to process your credit card and process your KYC information. And then also you are trusting the casino with your money. And the good thing about a credit card is if something bad happens and you get screwed, you can ask your credit card company for a chargeback. And so you'll usually get refunded if something went wrong or the casino did something they shouldn't have done. And then what's happened with Bitcoin casinos is that all of those protections for the player have been taken away. So when people play a Bitcoin casino, they make a deposit into the casino's custody, and if something goes wrong, you can't charge back. Cryptocurrency is like cash, that it's a one-way transfer. So you've lost all the protections that you used to have with credit card. So although you gain anonymity to some extent and some privacy, you lose out on customer protection. So we were trying to address that, and the tech that we've developed uses smart contracts and state channels to protect the player, not only to make sure that their funds are safe, so you don't have to make a deposit and you don't have to leave your funds in the custody of the casino, but also to guarantee that the games are fair. And that's not just the random numbers like some other people are claiming, but we actually make the games fair too. And so we've end-to-end rebuilt the entire gaming platform to make sure that the player is protected as far as we possibly can.
Got it. And when you talk about the protections, so if something happens because it's on your platform, they deposit their crypto, they deposit FunFair into your system. In what ways is it specifically protected? If you can kind of, how does that work?
So the number one thing we did was we've built a technology that any casino can run. Mm-hmm. And so we're not the casino, we are the technology provider. And when the player plays in a FunFair powered game, they're not actually depositing their money into the casino when they play. They're actually depositing the money into a smart contract that is effectively part of the game. And that is an escrow. And so the casino doesn't get their money unless the casino wins it. If the player wins, which hopefully they will if they're lucky, the money goes straight back into the player's own account. So there's no actual deposit into the casino at any time. So the player is completely protected. Their funds are held in real-time escrow. And if they didn't play anything or if they've won, the funds are coming back to their account immediately, the second the game's finished.
Okay, and when you talk about escrow, are we talking about some type of smart contract? How is it being held in escrow?
So it's a technology called state channels, and actually our unique version of it is called fate channels, which is a play on the fact that we have randomness built into our state channels. It's a real-time technology that lets two parties lock funds into an escrow. And so in our case, the player and the casino are the two parties to the state channel. And so when you enter a game, like say you click, you want to play roulette or blackjack or whatever it is, when you click, you bring up how much money you want to bring into the game, and the money doesn't go to the casino, it goes into this real-time escrow, which is a smart contract. And once the money, and also the player's money and the casino's money goes in at the same time. And actually, because of the asymmetry of the way that gambling works, where you could win a lot more money than you bet, when the player deposits like $10, the casino deposits $1,000 into the same channel. And so the player's funds and the casino's funds are both held there while you're playing the game. And then, you might win one bet, you might lose one bet, it goes back and forth, whatever's happening in the game. And then when you quit the game and you're done, it settles up. And that bit is also done on the blockchain. And it makes sure that the player gets what they should have won, and it makes sure the casino gets what they should have got. And so it's completely real time and it's rock solid. So no one can cheat. The player can't cheat, casino can't cheat. The funds are distributed correctly by the blockchain, controlled by the smart contract, not controlled by any servers and not under any individual's control. So it's a robust system that guarantees players get a fair game and also that no one can cheat.
Got it. I mean, that's an incredible technology. I mean, my thoughts are, why would anyone not be a part? Why would someone decide to do something else that would potentially have their funds at risk, or that would have a payout that isn't fair? Is it more of just, gamblers, people that are playing, gamers? Are they just so used to those sites that they've been playing on? Are they just so used to using credit cards? Like, what is it? Is the word just hasn't gotten out yet? Why isn't it with this type of technology? It just seems to me a no-brainer that somebody would want to use this type of technology?
We think so. So here's what happened. When people were playing with credit cards, they kind of got a bit blasé that they can trust the casino, because even if they're playing on a rogue casino, or even if they're playing on an unregulated casino, if something went wrong, they can get their money back. So they kind of had a level of trust that nothing will go wrong and they'll never lose their money other than legitimately. But what has happened is that players' trust has been misplaced, and that there are some rogue casinos that are, stealing people's money, or best case, if a player wins, they might not pay them immediately. They might slow it down, like maybe for days or weeks. They might not let the player get their money, even though they deserve it. They probably haven't lost it, but they just, it's got stuck because someone's decided to hold it for ransom or something. So all of these things happen, and some of them are more common than others, but generally, a lot of people don't trust that they're getting a fair game when they play online, and they will trust when they play in a land-based casino. So if they walk up to a roulette table or a blackjack table or a slot machine, whatever, in a real-life casino, they kind of feel like it's fair because it's real and they can see it. They can see the cards being shuffled, or they can see the ball spinning around in the roulette wheel or whatever. And when they play online, they don't always feel like they're getting a fair game, because those games are not being played locally on their computer. They're being played in a remote server. We call it an RGS, a remote gaming server. And that's like a black box in the middle of nowhere, in some remote island. And people have, good cause to not always trust that, because you just don't know who's running it. You don't know if it's legitimate. Even if it is legitimate, they still might slow down your payouts or make it hard for you to get your money back. So we think, people will, when they have a choice and when they understand that you could play on these games and they may or may not be fair, or you can play on these games where the technology guarantees that it's fair, not because someone's told you so, not because there's a rubber stamp on the website saying authorized or regulated or whatever, because that still requires you to trust that they're fair. And how do you know even what entity gave that blessing? Whereas if the technology is absolutely guaranteed that it cannot cheat the player or even the casino, if the technology is inherently correct and trustless, which is, weirdly means you don't need to trust it because the technology just works. If people have those choices of play on an unfair game or a game that may or may not be fair, play on a guaranteed fair game, we think that they will play on the games that are guaranteed fair. And we think that that is an education process, because people need to know that that exists, because it never has before.
Got it. So I think it would be really good then to kind of understand more about what FunFair is, because it sounds like, and what I've been seeing is that there's multiple use cases, and that you really kind of provide the technology and the system for how players, casino operators, game developers, and affiliates can play. And so I think it'd be a good idea just to kind of have an idea of, okay, so FunFair isn't really a casino. You guys do have a platform, if I understand correctly, but you also provide the technology to other casino operators.
Exactly.
So kind of like talk, what does the FunFair ecosystem provide to these different types of people?
So we've built an entire platform end to end. So we've built the graphical user interface, which is what the player sees when they arrive on the casino's website. So we made it look nice. We've got like an app store where you can choose your games. It's a very friendly user experience. And then we've built the first games. You're sharing your screen. So we built the first games, which is, the usual games, blackjack, roulette, craps, some slot machines, etc. And then we have built the underlying technology, and this is the cool thing, because we've built all of the games inside smart contracts. And what that lets us do is the rules of the game, each game is obviously different, the rules are encoded in the smart contract itself. And ordinarily, you would execute those on the blockchain, and then they can never go wrong, and they can never go and do something that isn't in the rules. However, if we just ran it directly on the blockchain, it would be too slow, and it would be a painful experience. In Ethereum, each block is 15 seconds, If each thing that you did, if you clicked hit and to get the next card, if you had to wait 15 seconds before you got the next card, and then you had to wait another 15 seconds before it figured out if you won, or
horrible user experience.
It would be excruciatingly slow. So just running the games on the blockchain directly, which some people have tried to do, is actually not a commercially viable thing. So we had to invent this new technology called fate channels that lets the game still run from smart contracts, but it can offload them off-chain so that you start the game on the chain and it puts the deposits, as I mentioned, the real-time escrow on the blockchain so that the money is safe. But then the games start running off-chain and they run super fast. So then they can run at real-time internet speeds so that you get the experience of a normal casino game. You get the fun, you get the instant reactions, you get everything that people would expect out of a casino game. And then when you've quit the game and you've finished and you've done with your session, it could be 100 games or 1,000 games or even 5 games later, whatever it is, it then settles back onto the blockchain, make sure that the right people get paid, make sure the player gets paid their winnings, make sure the casino gets their cut. If there's an affiliate or a game developer involved, make sure they get their revenue share. So it basically takes care of all of the economics of the ecosystem, and it does all that automatically in real time.
Got it. So it sounds to me that if I understand correctly, this technology allows blockchain to do everything, all the beautiful things that blockchain does, the transparency, the making sure that everyone can see that this is a trustless type system and that it's going to be fair for the casino, for the player, for everyone. But then when you want to actually play, one of the downfalls of blockchain is it can be slow, the transaction times. And so you take it off of it, then you allow normal gaming type of action and quickness to go. So you're really trying to hit the best of both worlds and allow what technology does best to do what it does best, essentially.
Exactly. So we're using the underlying blockchain to be the trust engine, effectively the trust machine. So because the game's 100% inside smart contracts and the funds are held in a smart contract, so we can use the blockchain for what it's good at, which is guaranteeing trust and transparency and fairness, but we offload that and we run as much of it off-chain as possible to make sure we get the fun experience for the player. And so the combination of those things, smart contracts and fate channels, is what allows FunFair to be, as we say, fun and fair.
FunFair, got it. Excellent. And so as far as the whole playing, whether you have your own casino that is in development, is that correct? It's not right now. It hasn't been fully released. Can you kind of talk about the current state of FunFair as far as how many are players using it currently right now? Is it just kind of demo? What is happening, as well as also on the affiliate side and on the casino side? How many do you have signed up? If you're sharing those type of numbers, just kind of like where are we at right now, June 19th, 2018?
So where we are right now, we've been 1 year in development in stealth mode. Then we did our token sale in June of last year, and now we've been another year in development in the open. And ever since we did our token sale back in June a year ago, June 22nd actually, so almost our anniversary, we've had the technology running, but we've been continually improving it in that time and making it robust and fun and pretty and everything else. So in that year, we've always been showing it, so anyone could go to showcase.funfair.io and play it ever since June of last year. But every few weeks we've been updating the site and making it better and better, and now it's finished. So the first version is done, and we've started beta testing it, and actually the first 50 testers are Canadian, and they're already using it for real money. This is for real fun tokens on the real live site. They're actually testing it right now. Anyone that isn't on the beta list can still preview it at the same site, showcase.funfair.io. So anyone else can go on there.
I'm sorry, that was...
Showcase.funfair.io. You can access it directly from the funfair.io website if you find the showcase. And so anyone can play today on the test nets what exists, and then the people who are in the beta test can play the real one today and have been. And then when the testing is finished, we'll go live with the first casinos. And there's 2 that are lined up to launch it as soon as it's passed through the beta test cycle, which is still a few more weeks yet. So we haven't announced the end of the beta test yet, because we're still finding bugs every day and fixing them every day. So until we get to the point where this is, full commercial quality ready to go, we don't want to release it. So you can see today what it looks like, but we'll hit the button to make it go live when we're 100% happy with it, which is in a few weeks.
But it will definitely be sometime in the third quarter of.
We were trying to do it by the end of June.
Yeah,
we're still in beta test, so it's not going to be by the end of June, which is only a few more days left.
Right.
But it's going to be in the summer. We hope it'll be. It'll definitely be Q3. It'll probably be the early half of Q3, but we don't know the exact date until it's ready. So, totally. But it's imminent. It's you can see where we are today just by running it today. So you can see the level is already very, very good, but we just want it to be perfect.
Where it's at. And one of those things, and I think it's always a good idea when it comes to developing that anytime you put a stringent, this is going to be the date on it, it really puts undue pressure on development team, with everything, and or releasing something that isn't completely 100% done because you want to hit your exact.
Yeah. If it was a video game like I used to make, I'm from the computer games industry originally. For 20 plus years I was in computer games. It's okay to release a computer game that isn't 100% perfect, because you can have a downloadable update and just fix anything that you find even after release. But when you're playing for real money, and there's real money at stake, and there's a chance of loss of real money, you don't want to have any issues. You just want to make sure that it's extra perfect before you release. So there's no point in releasing it now, when in a few weeks' time we'll be much more confident that it's ready. So, as you say, deadlines are good to focus the mind and have everyone working as hard as possible, but there's no point in just releasing it on a particular date. If a few more weeks, you could have made it so much better.
Absolutely. Yeah, agreed on that. And can we actually talk about, you say that because of the blockchain, we show that our technology and we make it fair. Is it something like, for instance, if I wanted to, and I don't have a lot of technical, I couldn't, really do some major analysis of, code or anything like that. How could an average Joe person that wants to feel like, they're not just talking the talk, but they're walking the walk, and I can see that. Is there a way for just the average gamer, the average, person that's going to be playing on these casinos to be able to understand and believe 100% that the blockchain is solving this issue?
It's a very good question. So here's how we think of it. There's obviously a technical level of requirement of knowledge and skill to be able to fully know if something is fair. So we see regulators will have technical audit capability. So they'll be able to look at the smart contracts and the blockchain data itself and see that it's fair. And then any technical users, like developers, will be able to look and see and tell everyone. And they'll be able to tell everyone else. So that the community includes technical people in the community as well as non-technical people. So the ones who have the technical skill can look at the smart contracts and the data and see that it is genuinely fair. But if you're a non-technical person playing it, unfortunately, you can look at the blockchain and see that you get the money in and money out. You can see the superficial stuff. But if you want to really look at the smart contracts and see that they're playing fair, you need a bit of technical knowledge. But luckily, there are people in the community that will have that and will share that knowledge and share their experience with the others. So it is kind of a community thing and a regulator thing. But it's better than any existing gaming where that's happening in a black box and no one has any visibility into what's happening at all.
Got it. So essentially, to understand 100% that the fairness behind it, you would need some technical skill. However, because there's technical people that are part of the community as long as you believe in the technical, the people who are saying, hey, I've gone through it, or I can vouch for it. At that point, they're the ones that you would then believe because they're putting their stamp on it, so to say.
Yeah, but we have evidence. It's kind of like, evidence of drug efficacy. Like, you have to rely on experts who are going to tell you this drug works and it has, a cure for this disease and it doesn't have these side effects. So at some point, when you're talking about something that's quite technical, you need to have a certain level of technical skill to fully appreciate it, but everyone can still use it and can have the access to the technical people to know that it is doing what it says on the tin, that it is actually, the smart contracts are on the blockchain that govern the rules of the game, and they are being executed. So, we can prove that on the blockchain, but the average person, they might just want to play the game and know that they can trust it. But a more technical person could actually probe and look and see that it's all happening and that it's real, and it's not just telling you, trust me, that all the data and all the transparency is there underneath.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So people can go through on a certain level and say, hey, based on what they're saying and what has been shared, I feel good. I trust this system because of what's out there. But if somebody wanted to really dig down and really dig and find and go through it, if they had the technical background, they could do that.
Sure, but there's also experience. The first time you play it, you'll see it's very different than any other game because you don't make a deposit into the casino and your money comes back in your account the second you finish the game. So you're not having to ask for withdrawal. You're not having to wait some amount of time. Literally, if you play a blackjack game and you bring $100 into the game and you play the game, if you play like 20 or 30 games and then you quit, the money will be back in your account within like half a minute. Like, it'll be as fast as the blockchain can give it back to you, it's going to give it back to you. So you don't get that with any other casino game. So normally it'll take you days to get your money out. You'll have to ask for a withdrawal. You'll have to hope that the stars align and that someone somewhere lets you have your money back. This is completely different. So the first time people play it, they'll know that they can trust it.
Got it. Understood. Excellent. So as far as the overall, and if you see my screen share, I wanted to kind of see how many different gambling cryptocurrencies are out there right now. And from everything that I've seen, first of all, I found 79 that are either in ICO mode or that have been released on some type of level. Most of these I've never heard of before. But when I saw this, I was like, man, like so many of these, it's crazy what type of competition. But when I looked at, their market cap or, where they're at on it, most of these folks haven't even got started. And when I looked at the coin market cap and I looked at, where you guys are at, which, right now sitting at number 80. And I looked at any other ones that have any larger market cap, and I'm not seeing it. I think that you guys really are not the largest market cap gaming coin right now. And so first, I want to give you props for that. For being in such a crowded field. Everyone knows that, gaming online is here to stay. Everyone knows that blockchain, if you can really show the fairness behind the gaming, why wouldn't people migrate to crypto? It just makes sense to do it. So, congrats on doing that. I'd like to hear a little bit more of how is it that you were able to get, in the top 100? And I guess another reason or a question I would have is because gambling and gaming in general is just so popular online, I would think that it would be higher in the overall amounts because it is one of the most, as you said, popular used the ways that people use crypto is through gambling, is through gaming. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
So as you say, it's there's a few other, it's becoming a crowded space. But actually the vast majority of those companies fall into two categories. Obviously there's a lot of scams. A lot of those are scams. This token economy breeds scams. If you don't know the real people behind a company, if they're anonymous or if they're fake names, it's a scam, or very likely a scam. Similarly, many of them are just claiming to be able to invent this technology, but actually very few of them have. As far as I'm aware, FunFair is actually the only company that has this provably fair gaming technology that is actually working. There's a few that are promising it. They mainly cut and pasted our white paper. I'm not going to name names, but you can go through some of those companies and see that they don't have any technology. They're promising it next year or never. So there's one reason that FunFair is higher than them in the listings is because it's real. We have real people with real experience and real technology that works today. None of the others, as far as I'm aware, actually have any technology today that they can show works. And that is a big difference.
Got it. And overall, I mean, what would you say when it comes to these other companies that are out there? Are there certain regulatory things that you guys have had to jump through on as far as hoops to make sure that you're getting the stamp of approval for not just being able to be a cryptocurrency, to be a blockchain organization, but to be a gaming organization? And is this something that most of the, like you said, these no-name, faceless type of tokens that are out there or are releasing, do they even bother with dealing with gambling regulations and licenses and those type of things? Or is that not something that you have to do because you're using crypto and not, fiat?
If you believe some of the companies, they'll tell you that because it's crypto, it's not real money, and therefore you don't need a gaming license. That isn't, unfortunately, true. The way that the gambling laws work in most countries are that if you're gambling anything of value, whether it's money or chickens or crypto, it's still value, and so it's still gambling if you can win or lose it. And so quite a few companies say, we're a crypto casino, we don't need a gaming license. That is just not true. And they're just lying. Or they're naive and they don't understand, but most likely they're just lying. So we have applied in several jurisdictions for a gaming license, and they take a long time to arrive. The best licenses, the ones that are in the most legitimate places that have the best experience and the best reputation, they take many months to arrive. And there are other licenses as well in, less reputable places that don't have as good a reputation, and they're much faster. So we've applied in several jurisdictions, including the fast ones and also the highly reputable ones. So we're covering all the bases by applying in multiple places. And many of the companies that you're talking about don't have gaming licenses, or even if they do have gaming licenses, it's because of their old incumbent business that is nothing to do with blockchain and provably fair gaming, because blockchain is new and the regulators are just learning about it now. So they're only licensing companies this year for the first time. They've never seen this kind of technology before that makes games fair. In the past, games are only fair if there's a rubber stamp that says they're fair. You can't actually prove that they're fair, and that's very new technology that the regulators are learning about.
Got it. And so when you say that they're learning about, is the overall impression, are they they got to be, I would think, ecstatic about the idea of actual distributed technology that is proving gaming fair? As long in making the rules, that obviously the casino, I'm sure, has an edge. However, that edge is completely transparent.
You're totally right. So in the past, regulators' job was primarily to ensure that the games are fair and to ensure that the right people are playing, so that the right people is people of the right age. So you don't want to let kids play, people that don't have a gambling problem. So you basically, you protect the minors and the vulnerable. That's the rules, and you guarantee a fair game and make sure that the odds are fair. So that's what regulators generally do. The more recent ones maybe are also collecting taxes as well, because there might be specialist gaming taxes in different countries. So yeah, regulators in general should be happy that there's technology that now exists to do part of their job for them. But they're not going to let go. This is new. And, you know, part of what they do is KYC, which is know your customer, and AML, which is anti-money laundering. They're very concerned about those two things. And blockchain is very different for those two things. So in, you know, normal conventional online gaming, there are databases with your name in it and your credit card and your home address, and they can just look you up and KYC you and then take your credit card. And if your credit card processes correctly, you're done, you're in. And they assume that you're old enough because they've looked you up. In blockchain, it's very different and really difficult to actually verify someone. And many of these crypto casinos are not doing that. So they're not checking if people are underage, which is very risky and dangerous. They're not checking if they have a gambling problem and they've asked to not play. So, you know, this is new stuff, and the regulators want to make sure that the blockchain casinos are doing it properly. And it is hard to do it properly because it's a lot easier in the old incumbent world than it is in blockchain.
Okay, got it. Now, when you say that there's other casinos that are going to be working and using your technology, now, do these other folks, do they also need to use, you know, best practices as far as getting the regulations and doing all that? Or because they're using your technology, that because FunFair is saying, look, we got the technology, we're making it fair, we're making sure that these casinos can't take advantage of users, so therefore they're okay, and if we just want them to go out there and promote and do what they do, and we're going to provide the back-end technology. Is that kind of how a casino works and interacts with FunFair?
Absolutely. So we have multiple different models. The two most likely models are, one is we license the technology to the casino and they get the gaming license, and then they can operate it. That model is a conventional model. And then another alternative model is called a white label model, where we've built the technology and we will find a company to run it for you, and you just provide the customers and the brand, and we will power the casino for you. And then they don't need a gaming license because we already have one. And so they can use our gaming license and offer it to customers, and we know that they can't screw customers, and we know that the games are going to be fair, and so we don't mind them being the front end, you know, the brand of that casino. And so we're doing both of those models, and bigger casinos will probably want the one where they license the tech and they go off and get their own license and do it themselves, and the smaller or medium-sized casinos will probably prefer the white label approach, where we do the heavy lifting and they just get the customers and have their own brand.
Okay, got it. And so then those two different models, then if you provide the white label and they just have to promote, are there different negotiations and different splits then of what you guys have? Is that something that is, maybe that's not as public or shared? What's the...
So my view on that is, you're right. I mean, in a few years' time, there probably will be a difference in the revenue share that those two different kinds of partners will get. But today, actually, FunFair isn't really charging a revenue share. So the casino gets everything and shares it with the game developer and the affiliate. An affiliate, in case people don't know, is usually a marketing expert who will send player traffic to the casino and get a revenue share for their players. And so FunFair currently isn't planning to take a revenue share for providing the platform in the short term. So we're effectively taking a long view on it, which is we want adoption first. We want this to be an industry standard that lots of gaming companies are using. And so we're willing to give it a couple of years before we start charging for it. So right now, there is no difference between the big casinos that will just use the tech and do their own thing and the smaller and medium-sized ones who will do a white label. Effectively, they're both making almost all of the revenue in both cases.
Understood. Okay. So then with you have the affiliates, you have the players, you have the casinos, and you have the game developers.
Yep.
So this whole ecosystem, it's growing and growing. The affiliates are wanting to send more players to the casinos. The casinos are opening up and providing, different and more features and benefits. And so this whole ecosystem is growing and growing. How does that impact the growth of FunFair? How does that impact the overall market cap of FunFair? And I'm not asking you to have any numbers or pretend that you have a crystal ball, but I think it's important that some technology and some coins, they don't really lay out as far as how a successful business like yourself, if it grows, a successful coin, a successful token that grows and grows in value and adoption, how that actually interacts with the overall value of FUN, of fun.
Sure. Okay. So it's slightly more nuanced in that there's the token itself and the token economy, which is ecosystem driven. And so the casinos need to buy fun tokens to have a bankroll that the players will play to win that bankroll. So effectively, all casinos need a bankroll. They need to have a certain amount of funds that they have staked for the players to win. So casinos will buy big amounts of the currency of the fun token to actually stake. Players will buy however much players buy to be able to play the games. So those are the two main drivers of demand of the fun token. And then the more casinos there are, the more players there will be in the ecosystem and the more adoption there will be for the token. So that's the demand side. Supply side, there's a fixed number of tokens that are out in the market. We printed, a year ago when we did our token sale, we printed a fixed number, and so there's not going to be any more tokens. So we're not minting more. We're not in control of any more tokens, so with a fixed supply and demand driven by the ecosystem, the value of the token will float based on demand. So that's how the economics of the token work. The revenue for the company, for FunFair, as I said, we're going to waive short-term revenue for the platform in that normally a casino would pay 10 or 15% of its revenue to the platform supplier, and we're not charging that to get the adoption going and to establish ourselves like Google and Facebook and Twitter. In the early years, they're about growing their market and their business. They're not about trying to take short-term revenue. So in that regard, we're keeping the cost low to the casino to make it very competitive for them. But we still are a game developer as well. So we have put some games on the platform, and the games get revenue share. So we are going to get revenue from the games, but not from the platform. But that's market revenue that any game developer would get. And we can't undercut them, so we can't give away the games because we want other game developers to put their games on the platform. And it's got to be a fair marketplace. So any game developer can put games there, and they will earn a revenue share for anyone that plays those games, and just like we do. So we will get some revenue even on day one. And then there are other economics at work here because the way that the token economy works is there are also staking pools, which are, you've got the big ones, which are casinos that are buying bankroll, and you've got the smaller ones, but hopefully lots of them, which are players. We also have this concept of a staking pool that we call it a slightly singed pool, but that's from historic, the naming is from historic reasons, but it's basically a transaction fee the system charges for every time that a game is played. A little bit of it goes into this staking pool, which we call the Singe account, and it just accumulates there, and it's effectively a pool of tokens that are just sitting there, and that actually takes them out of the market and makes the ecosystem more interesting for all the players, for all the participants. So, because if you're a casino and you're having to hold a lot of fun tokens, you want to know that you want to know that if you as a casino and other casinos adopt it, you want to know that there's going to be a reason to keep holding it. So hopefully that economy will be virtuous for all participants. So the more casinos use it, hopefully the more ecosystem players, the more adoption, the more use the token has. That's all demand.
Fascinating. So that when you say slightly cinched, because it's almost like they're not burnt, so to say, but they're being taken out of the ecosystem, which means that the overall supply is going down, which then it behooves the casino owners and anyone that's holding on to tokens that ideally, besides just the demand, the supply is going down. And so, hey, don't fret about holding your tokens that they might have a major dump or major, you put in 10,000 FunFairs and you go, you don't open your account for a week, and then the value of FunFair has significantly gone down. So is that a way that helps?
Yeah. So it's the original plan, when we came up with this idea, was to follow what some other people have done, which is to burn transaction fees. Ripple does it. I think Economy does it. So we wouldn't be the first people to do that. So we did intend to burn transaction fees, and that would actually reduce the supply correlated with the amount of use. However, various advisors and guidance since we came up with that idea was that you can't burn tokens because it's akin to a dividend. And if you gave a dividend, you might be considered a security. And we don't want to be considered a security. We think this token has very strong utility value. And we don't want to do anything that crosses any lines in the sand. So instead of burning transaction fees, we've decided to just accumulate them in a staking account, which is not burning them, they're not disappearing, they're not being destroyed, they're just being accumulated. And so they're effectively taken out of the marketplace, but they're not being destroyed. And at some time in the future, we might find a good use for them. There might be a massive jackpot for a slot machine that will attract new, players into the market. Or there might be some really good use that we can apply to that staking pool that means we would bring it back into play. But generally, it will be a long-term deposit account that the tokens go into and they stay there for a long period of time. Okay.
Interesting. That's something I've never, really heard of somebody doing a concept like that. Was that kind of something that, especially in this type of environment where everyone's concerned about security versus utility tokens. So that it sounds like that was an easy way to make it a small adjustment and make sure that there is zero thought that, this could be considered a dividend, which then could put you in any type of hot water in regards to security tokens.
We just want to follow best practices and do the right thing. We obviously want the token to succeed in the market because the platform relies on it. And the customers and the casinos need to be able to buy the token, so it needs to be in the market. So we don't want to do anything to jeopardize the liquidity of the token. And when we were receiving advice that, the burning of tokens is controversial, and although it's not definitely a dividend, some people will say that it might be, and you just don't want to go there. So we just thought, okay, we don't want to do anything that crosses the line. We want to do the best we possibly can, and we've done that all the time. We even cancelled our phase 2 token sale that was going to be a big public, retail token offering. We actually cancelled that so that only the token sale that was focused on institutions actually happened. And we basically are pivoting to do the right thing whenever we're given guidance, and we'll keep doing that. So if people give us guidance that anything in particular isn't ideal, we will change it because we always want to be the right side of the regulators.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense. And when you bring up the staking side, now staking is used in both gaming and it's used in blockchain, right? As far as proof of stake. So I think it's really good to kind of talk a little bit more about that, because what you just said as far as having casinos, and that casinos, because of the large amount that they're potentially exposed to, if a player hits a major jackpot or hits something that, that has a high, low probability of happening, that you almost, because of the way that gaming works, you're almost creating a master node system, or in the way that you're requiring entities that are within the organization to put up amounts of FunFair if they want to do business as they are set up as. And that's a really interesting concept, but you're not giving any benefits. And I want to make sure, I'm not calling it a master node, but do people get benefits for staking tokens, or is it just something that they have to do in order, to play the role that they are within FunFair?
Okay, so initially, only casinos have to stake, just like they would in real life. In any real casino, they have to have a bankroll that is more than enough to cover the bets that might happen. So they're the main staking pool right now, is like the bankroll. But that said, our technology enforces something that's never been enforced before, which is the smart contracts that power the games will only accept a bet from a player if the funds to pay the maximum win that could happen are actually in escrow at the time. So the player is guaranteed to win if they should have won. And that's not true in any other casino. So if you play any online casino today and you're playing a slot machine that has like 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1 jackpot, the casino doesn't have to have the funds behind themselves to actually pay that win. That's why they often do these delay tactics. When you try and withdraw your winnings, they might delay you because they actually don't have the money to pay you and they're trying to scramble around to get it. Whereas with our technology, the casino matches the player. When the player makes a deposit, the casino has matched it with 100 times the amount, so that if the player wins, they get paid immediately out of escrow, not out of some future promise of funds. And because we're enforcing that rule, the casino has to have all of those funds staked to be able to do that. And the player knows that they will definitely get the money if they win.
Got it. And to have that type of security and transparency, I mean, it really sounds, you know what, I sometimes, and it gets under my skin a little bit when I just, I go to these conferences and sometimes I feel like everybody in every business is trying to put that industry or that business model on the blockchain. And sometimes I'm just like, why does this have to go on the blockchain? How does distributed ledger technology, how does, the benefits that, that we know that it brings, how does that actually improve this type of industry or area of business? And for me, it sounds like you guys have really created and solved with the gaming ability, as far as the quickness and the speed of it, that you really are taking the best of blockchain, taking the parts that are a struggle and making it so that it's not part of the equation, so it doesn't become a liability of it. And that blockchain and in the way that you guys have done it makes gaming an absolute no-brainer. Like it really improves the overall experience for the player, which when it comes down to it, in any type of industry, the player, when it comes to casinos, are always looked at as the chump. And with what it looks like, what you really set up is that, hey, if you want to play, we're going to show you, here's the odds. You're going to get paid. You're going to have the cash. It's not going to be like the casino that are almost like the banking institutions where you go into a bank and say, hey, I want to take out 30 grand. And, they don't have the money on them. They're a freaking bank in the United States, and they don't have the cash to give you money that is in your account that you should be able to have. So I think, I have always believed in gaming and how blockchain could work with this. I've researched and I've invested in multiple gaming coins. And this now, without a reasonable doubt, I believe shows that blockchain, when used properly, is a no-brainer for the gaming industry.
I totally agree. Obviously, I just want to put it out there that the casinos have a house edge. So the casinos will make money statistically just you know, because they have a slight edge in their favor. So you have to be lucky as a player to win. But if you do win, you deserve to get your money. And so the technology enforces the game rules and guarantees that the players will get paid what they're due and that the odds are correct. So that's the bit we can control. But obviously, luck, you're on your own as a player. You still have to be lucky to win. And you know, you talked about all those other gaming companies that are coming down the pike. Really, very few of them have this provably fair gaming technology. It's to do it, you have to have the games running in smart contracts, and you have to have a trustless system where the game is fully transparent and that the wins are paid to the player immediately from the smart contract. You can't have this deposit into the casino's custody and the game's played on some remote gaming server. I mean, that technology is obsolete when we launch this stuff and prove that we can have fair games for the first time.
Okay, so you're really saying that the barrier of entry, you know, there's these 78 coins that are under the cryptocurrency that are either in development or out. You're saying that the barrier of entry, with if they're going to do it the right way with both regulations and the licenses, as well as also with the technology side, to put those things together is no easy walk in the park.
If it was easy, someone else would have done it now, and we're the only people, as far as I'm aware, that have provably fair gaming, which is gaming inside smart contracts. We have our own state channel technology, which is what allows the games to run super fast off chain. We have our own graphics user interface for the platform so that you actually have a nice, friendly place to play the games. We built the games. We've got the gaming experience from our background in gaming, and we've got licenses that we've applied for, and some have already been granted. So yeah, all of those pieces of the puzzle are important. And of course, we're also named people. We are real people. We're not made up people. We're not anonymous. If you whittle down the list of other gaming companies into people, you know, who actually exist, who have actual technology that works, who have the chance of getting a gaming license, if you like whittle it down, there's almost no one left. Or there's people promising it for next year or the year after or something like that.
Got it. That they're just, you know, set up there like, hey, you know what? Let's use blockchain because it's a hot thing right now. And we know that we can make money from gambling, from, you know, taking a few, you know, suckers' money. So let's see if we can do this, essentially. Is that a lot of those type of people that have tried to infiltrate or have infiltrated the normal gaming industry are trying to do it with blockchain?
Yeah. And there's a lot of scams out there, as is not just in gaming tokens, but in every token. There's a lot of scams. So please, everyone, be careful. Do your due diligence. Like, you really need to check what you're putting your money into, because I think it's like 95% scams. I mean, it's really an unsafe space out there.
95%. Incredible. Well, I'll tell you what, Jez, you know, good.
No, I just think, you know, I would hate to be an uninformed person buying tokens right now, because there's so many out there and there's so little due diligence on them and no independent analysis on them. You know, all the analysts that are writing reports and all the listing sites that are showing these tokens, they're all paid. So like, if you're a person with some money that you want to buy tokens, how do you decide which ones? It's really hard. Like, there's just, it's a shark infested waters out there.
95%. Absolutely. No, and that's, you know, and I got to tell you, one of the reasons why I really wanted to jump on with you is, you know, I looked up and I saw your team, and I looked and saw that, you know, you guys are not just, you know, a bunch of, you know, people that have, you know, space monkey type handles, right? That's like really, like, you want to have people trust you with, you know, putting things in your, you know, using your technology, or you want to use anything when it comes to gaming, when it comes to your money, that you want to put it in the hands of somebody that, you know, they won't even, you know, put their face on their websites. Like, come on. So,
or it's fake people. Like, there's actually some gaming sites out there. I'm not going to name names right now, but there are some gaming sites where the people are fake. You can Google the people, and you can see news sites showing that the people are made up. They're not actually real people, or they are real people, but they're nothing to do with the company. This happens. Sorry, I'm going to walk back from the 95%. I think 95% of tokens are risky, I think probably half of those are scams and half of them are companies that are clueless. They've just written a white paper and have no idea how to deliver what they promised. I don't think 95% are scams. I think 95% will fail. Half of those are scams. Half of those are naive companies.
Got it. Okay. And Jez, I'll tell you what, this was an awesome interview. I love, anything, and especially, a lot of the folks that are watching this, they're just getting going in crypto. They're getting started. Having an interview with somebody that knows the gaming industry, has one of the top, if not the top, gaming coins right now, and really just hearing what you're trying to do for the overall industry and for the player and for the casino and for the affiliates. It's refreshing to see. And I have to tell you that. And it further reinforces that, like you said, there's probably 90 to 95% of all tokens out of the 1,600 either just have, wannabe teams, maybe a developer, in one area, developer in the other area, just have no real desire to innovate and to bring a true technology that serves a lot of people, that can scale and that can grow. And it really sounds like that you have that. So I wanted to say thanks for taking the time and sharing.
It's a pleasure. And we are very excited to enter this new phase where we're in beta test of a real product on mainnet. And in some number of weeks, we will be live. So we can't wait. And thank you so much for the chance to speak to you about this.
It is great. And, I know a lot of people that, had questions or, they want to see they want to see who the guy that came up with it, and it's what time is it there? You're doing interviews at what time?
It's dinner time. It's about 9:15 p.m. That's okay. It's not too late. I'm up a lot.
Oh, it's great. It just still says, that, you're willing to take the time. You want to give information and you want people to know who you are. You want to have people know what the technology is. You're not hiding behind some type of, BS white paper or BS website that, really doesn't, share what the true vision is. So,
I just want to take time to say that I am not the only one in the company. The company is over 40 people. Half of them are developers. And I have co-founders. I'm actually one of 4 co-founders. So the company isn't just me. In fact, I get all the glory, but actually there are some very hardworking team members behind it.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a classy way to finish out the overall interview, and your authenticity comes, even though I'm down here, we're on the other side of the planet, down here in South America, Medellin, Colombia, your authenticity and just desire to really do it and have the best project possible. So shout out to the rest of the FunFair team as well. And I look forward to it. Hopefully, we can get you back and do another interview follow-up after you're released, and we can actually, do a screen share and maybe we can play a couple of hands of cards or roll
that would be awesome. I would love to do that. But also, you can preview it. Anyone can preview it now at showcase.funfair.io. It's fully functional, has been for a year, and it just gets better all the time. Thanks,
Excellent.
Colin.
Absolutely. And so for everybody listening to this, this is what you got to do. You got to go, you got to research the coins. You got to research the teams behind the coins, DYOR, do your own research. And for us, it's, you want to go and if you're the smartest person in the room in your crypto room or your crypto community, you're in the wrong room. And that's why I really, try to reach out to gentlemen like Jez, and that people have been in this space for years and that have a viewpoint and an experience and knowledge and background that I don't have. And so my goal is to kind of bring these type of top level, really in the know, connected individuals in the crypto blockchain space to you. And that's what the goal is. So Colin Andrews with Crushing Crypto signing out. We'll talk to you later.